Alice, where are you? What are people saying there?
Hi there, good morning. Well, I'm just here in Paddington, just around central London, and I have to say we knew that this news was coming, but it doesn't make the blow any less painful. And I think particularly when we look at London, we have to look at the increase to the energy price cap in the context of what an expensive city this is for people to already live and work in. I mean, many people are already priced out, unable to buy a property in London. Many people, particularly over the last few months, are really struggling to even rent. It's very expensive to commute into the country and to this capital, and people having to spend thousands and thousands of pounds. So I think we have to kind of look at the wider context of how the cost of living is impacting people in London. And so to have this very much a dramatic, a 1,500 increase to the energy price cap is really going to impact people in the capital. And we've always heard for a long time people say, yes, London's expensive, but people are paid more. But simply that is not as true anymore, because wages are not rising in line with inflation, which is true, of course, across the country. So I've been out and about speaking to people who are absolutely devastated by the news today, and they were talking to me about how they're struggling with the cost of living crisis.
I'm lucky enough that this next price cap rise might not mean we can't buy food, but it's a pattern that means that things become more difficult for us, and maybe if it happens again, we're in trouble.
It is hard, and the only solution I've got at the moment is possibly moving in one of my kids, their wife and two of my grandchildren, so I can make ends meet.
There's definitely been a massive increase in the supermarkets. I mean, I shop in there in some even in the budget supermarkets like Lidl's, Aldi. The prices have changed dramatically in the sort of like the last sort of 3 to 6 months.
What I'm definitely doing is you spend on what's important. What you don't need to do, you don't do it, and try and budget as much as possible. But try not to be so terrified, because it is actually quite demoralizing listening to the news. But what can you do? We have to wait and see. Hopefully things will get better.
Well, quite a range of views there. It gave me quite an indication there of the man who was speaking there, who was having to move back in with his children there because he's absolutely struggling to make ends meet. And he was a man of, I think, 62 at a time where you'd be hoping to sort of look to retirement, but he was saying he'd have to keep working and sadly was going to have to move back in with his children to make ends meet. So a really sad picture from so many people I spoke to. I mean, I suppose the government, of course, would say that from October there is some help that will be available to households. There'll be a £400 rebate. The question is that going to be enough for people who are struggling at the moment? And could the situation get even worse? Because, of course, it was every 6 months that Ofgem would be reviewing the energy price cap. That's now happening every 3 months. So I think the real worry is whether this could get even worse in January.